Good afternoon, everybody. This is
Good
Moin.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kumthekar sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, actually, we are looking, we are planning since long this session, but that was more physical kind of session which we are planning. But I think
Yeah.
every disguise has a blessing. So, this lockdown
Yeah.
period, we are getting more and more conversant and habitual to this kind of very effective and very what you say in short notice we can arrange this kind of webinars. So digitalization is happening everywhere. We are also a part of it. I welcome all the engineers, architects, consultants, or all the guests here who are there, who are attending this webinar. There is a limitation. We are trying to increase the participation limit. Right now it is 100. So there may be some people who are not able to join. But in the coming days, we are trying to increase this limit to at least 500 so that more engineers and architects can get benefited. So I once again welcome all, and Dr. Madhav Kumthekar Sahab, he is a very renowned personality in the field of academic civil engineering. We kind of lot of training programs he is doing, not only for us, for all the construction industry, the people who are linked to construction industry. Basically, he is a PhD, he is a doctor, MTech from IIT Mumbai, and currently he is the principal of Government Engineering College of Nagpur. We are planning a lot of contractors and skill development programs also in his college, which shortly will come in. So we thought this is the right opportunity to have Dr. Kumthekar here in this forum, and we will be doing. In fact, in morning only we had one other session, some other expert. So we will be doing for you, for all the engineers, and I will request, since this is a little bit of most of us are not very much habitual of these webinars and all, so I will just once again request everybody to please keep their mobiles or laptops, whatever devices they are using, please keep it on mute, and even your video is also not that required, everybody, because the more we use the video feature and everything, more pressure and more load will be on the internet. So after the finishing of the session, you can write in the chat box, you can write the questions, your comments, and we will take it up one by one, and Dr. Kumthekar will answer. I'll not take much time. I will request Dr. Madhav to please take the on board and start the session.
Thank you, Honorable Mohan. It is really a pleasure for me to share something about what is called as advancement in concrete formwork technology by arranged for the ACC cement. Now the construction industry today has changed a lot. In fact, the construction industry started with residential construction mainly for the safety purposes. But as the time passed, the additional dimensions were added in the form of comfort, in the form of durability and all. Right from the Mohenjo-daro Harappa, right from the Indus culture, right from what is called a Greek and Roman culture, the construction industry developed very fast. To be honest, the construction industry, development in the construction industry can be also considered as the right yardstick to measure the development of the human being. But today, the construction industry is basically demanding for three things. One, there must be a good quality. The cost must be very effective. Time should be very small. And last is, whatever construction we do should be durable. And at the same time, there are new concepts are coming in the case of construction field, such as the PPP, and contract models are also changing from the conventional contract to what is called as build, operate, and transfer. And in this particular connection, the speed, quality, as I said, they prove to be an important factors in the form of what is called as the deliverables industry. Let us see the concrete as such. In fact, we know that in the year 1824, Mr. Joseph Asselin took the patent of the OPC. After particular from that, right from the old ages, right, as I said, from Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, the concept of gluing technology, what is called as binder, was known to human being at that time. May not be the form of present ACC, but yes, there was something called as binder, there was something called as the where is basically very commonly adopted construction material due to its very versatile properties. It has three stages just to share. One is what is called as setting. Setting is the second is the hydration, and third is what is called as the binding. And due to these three parameters, the concrete is considered to be the most adopted, most useful material in the construction industry. It is basically preferred to other due to three reasons. One is due to economy, second is the ease of construction, and third is the durability. Let us see the three pictures for you. One, from France, the Milan viaduct, where the height of this particular the piers, what is called as pylons, is almost equal to 1104 feet, almost equal to 337 meters. Similarly, if we see the another type of the picture, what is called as the cooling tower, the shape is very typical. Height is very practically very large, more than 100-meter plus. You will find shapes are different. The construction quality is basically very high. Similarly, one more picture before I would like to present before all the audience is about one of the laurels in the field of construction of what is called a Kanwar viaduct on Konkan Railway near Ratnagiri. The height of this particular pier is more than 64 meters, and Larsen and Toubro has completed this particular job in very, very short time and in the record time. What I want to share with you is this is one more example. When you go for the wonderful projects like this, where the left-hand side there is something called as the flyover which is completed, and second side there is the flyover which is under construction, you'll find the finishing, you'll find the shape what is placed on the left-hand side is purely based on the formwork, the supporting thing which is shown on the right-hand side. Here you'll also find what is called as the twisted cable, twisted tendons placed in a typical parabolic shape. You will find one of the another structure which is
Sorry
called
for
as arch bridge.
interruption. Doctor sir, Madhav sir, can you put it on slideshow, full screen?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is what is called an arch bridge. I'll just go for the previous one just to tell you what, just to get the feel. One, the Malau from the France. Second, the cooling towers where the height is more than 130 meters, mainly for the nuclear power plants. And also what is called as this Panwar viaduct. The height is 64 meters. Similarly, the what is this particular the structure or the supporting mechanism for the flyover which is just completed on the left hand side and which is under construction right hand side, you understand the importance of what is called the formwork. A typical bridge which is called an arch bridge. What I want to showcase before I would tell you is to see the thickness, see the quantity of the concrete, see the shape of this particular structure, and to go for this particular shape we need what is called as the formwork. The wonderful known building to everybody, rather the Burj Khalifa, height is almost equal to 828 meters. You will find the shapes are not common, which are adopted normally in the case of construction in rural areas, like the rectangle, G or G plus 1, where we don't care much. We were not caring much about the formwork. But if you go for these type of structures where the shapes are totally different, shapes are uncommon, they are other than the rectangle, they are the parabola, hyperbola, and everything, you have to go for these particular shapes only with the quality of the supporting structure, which is called as the formwork. That is the most important part. Just to share with you the 10 wonderful skyscrapers from the world. Mainly for the audience, what I want to present before you, except the third building from the right. Unfortunately, this building is not there due to some ill-minded people. You will find the shapes of all this particular building are totally different. They are not at all rectangle. You'll find the combinations of the arches, you'll combination of the parabola, rather the projectile. You are having some fins. You may have some hyperbola, different type of the shapes. And if at all you want to go for the eye-catching building, you have to go for three things: wonderful quality of the concrete, wonderful workmanship, and the most important, what is called as the quality of the formwork. And that is why, in the present scenario, the formwork plays an governing role. My dear friends, the concept of the formwork is here. They are nothing but the molds. They are nothing but the dies which are used for the construction. The main thing is this particular material, this particular material, what is called as a formwork, they are basically supporting what is the temporary support which is required to carry the loads, which are required to provide alignments, which are required to maintain the positions or above in the self load, as well as for the equipment and material. Let me again share with you, my dear friends, the most of the accidents which are taking place at the site, they're either just during the construction or basically just after the construction. You'll never find the structure is collapsing down maybe after a couple of years due to this particular thing. Over and above this, in the today's condition, if you want to go for the competitive market, if you just share with any big companies, you'll find their profit margin is very close to 9%, 10% plus or minus a couple of percent here and there, which is totally different scenario as compared to what was there in the past. From that particular point of view, if they want to at all rather go for the better profit with the best possible quality, the only thing they can control with the better quality of the formwork, because in many of the cases, the cost of the formwork may range between 25% to the 65% cost of the formwork. Now, many contractors try to save the particular cost in the form of formwork by going for some odd type of the fabrication, improper erection, and going for the material which is not appropriate. In that particular case, what happens is they may save something, but ultimately it leads to the defective concrete, which is more costly, or basically to correct that defect is basically more costly, needs expensive chipping and all, and also the grinding, which is very, very difficult issue at the site. Similarly, if unfortunately there is a failure of the formwork, it leads to the huge amount of the loss directly as well as indirectly. For above, there is something a block to the company. From that point of view, it is very much required. It is very much required to go for what is called as the shape, size, finish. It must have enough load carrying capacity, and at the same time, most important point I would like to share with the audience, it is very easy to plan the shuttering, plan for the formwork. So let me honestly tell you from experience that the formwork should be designed in the reverse way. Many times the structure is complete, the formwork is there, but there is no provision how to do the de-shuttering, and many times you have to take the help of welding, and that is not the way of doing the de-shuttering. And hence, my dear friends, while planning or designing for the shuttering or the formwork, you must start in the reverse way. You must first plan how we should go for the de-shuttering first. Now, let's go for the material which is more interesting for us. First is the basically commonly adopted wood material, timber, plywood, what was there. It was there 30, 35 years back when the construction was there in the 70s, 75, or 80. Nowadays, you will find hardly the timber or the wooden material used for the construction. In fact, I joined in the field around 82, 83, where the steel structure was very common. Now it is also going on. The what is called tailor-made type of the formwork was concept which was started in the steel. Those people who are working in the field right 80s and all, you'll find there was a company called Acro, which was providing the typical type of the tailor-made or ready-made type of the formwork, which was commonly used in the case of field at that time. The revolution now took place. The conventional steel formwork, wooden formwork, which was there, because wooden formwork, the number of repetitions are never more than 9 or 10. Steel, it may be slightly better, but the maintenance handling cost is very high in the case of steel. And now in the case of contracts, if you find the time is the essence of the contract, people are trying to save the time, people are trying to reduce the cycle, and hence they are going for the formwork, which is called the aluminum formwork. My dear friends, in that particular leaflet, ACC has mentioned some other materials, very recent materials in the formwork, something called a glass reinforced plastics, inflated, also called a vacuum type of the formwork, which are adopted in the special cases. Of course, I will share that at the later part of my presentation. This is the new concept. Instead of going for the conventional type of the formwork, depending upon my requirement, depending upon the requirement of the site, depending upon the requirement of the finished product, what is required as a prototype, we may provide the purpose-made formwork, which is basically for the tunnel lining, bridges, slip forms, and any other structures with unusual shape, which will give us better finish and less requirement. A typical picture for you, my dear friends, in the form of aluminum formwork, which is of a modular nature. Once we fix the module, arranging or going for the permutation and a combination, we can complete the structure within a very short span of the time. In old days, those who are in the field, they must know, they will be knowing that we are applying that particular black oil. Very odd concept. When we were doing the job at that particular site, the reinforcement was also many times full with the oil, the basically losing the concept of the bonding. But yes, that was the pattern. Now, if you see this particular aluminum formwork, the finish is so good, we can go for what is called as naked finishes, form finish structure, which is the need of that particular architect for a long duration. This is one more, the first type of the formwork, basically Austrian type of the formwork known as the DOCA. It started right from 1961-62. Very common, very famous type of the formwork, which is used mainly for the infrastructure development. Wonderful, there is some mainly in the case of ESRs, mainly in the case of retaining wall. These structures are very common with the perfect line, perfect level, without leakage of the slurry, and hence you can have the continuous length with the self-supporting nature. The climbing, basically scaffolding is also attached with it, and hence for the massive structure, infrastructure development. Now today also, DOCA is considered to be one of the good formwork. This is another example. When in the many cases, mainly in the case of ESRs, mainly in the case of typical monumental structures, we have to also go for tilting, where at one point we have to make the structure inclined, we have to provide inclined type of supporting mechanism. This is very much possible in the case of DOCA. In the case of ESRs, in the case of some typical structures, at one higher level, I want to increase the width, I want to change the dimension. This is also practical only from the DOCA, and hence DOCA is very famous in the form of what is called as the infrastructure development. This is the typical example of inclined retaining wall. If you go for the places, very odd places like a small villages or the type B3 or B4 type of the cities, this continuous finish we cannot expect because we go for the steel plates and all. They are not in the proper alignment, and if we remove, we have to go for the chipping. Or a very common answer in the case of cities like us, where oh bolta hai sir kuch bhi chipka mat karo, lesson or the plastic will do it correct. Let me honestly tell you, my dear friends, the nature of the plastering, the purpose of the plastering is not to hide the defect. It is basically to increase finish, increase the elegance of the structure. But unfortunately, in the field, what we observe, the plastering is used to hide the defect, and that is why it gets a lot of things. My dear friends, in my life of the span of the field 30 years, I have seen many slabs having the thickness of the 4 inches and thickness of the plaster is 2 inches just to hide the defect or the line in the case of the formwork. Many times after some months, you'll find the air gap, and third or fourth month, you'll find the whole plaster comes down because there is no perfect bond. So I want these type of the things, which are basically a problem for the sustainability, durability. These type of formworks are to be used. One of the best formwork that is normally used is the DOCA. Let us go for another formwork which is very common mainly for what is called a real estate development. Basically used in Malaysia starting the Malaysia 1990. Wonderful use normally for plumbing, line, level, joint, basically a typical type of the props which are used, because in the case of conventional construction, if you provide the prop where the beam and column centering, rather the slab and beam centering is matching, even the slab curing time is over, basically we cannot remove it because it is interlocked. Similarly, you can find a typical props over here, typical plates over here. You may have the fascia either of the wonderful quality of the ply or aluminum, any combination you can do. And hence, when you want to go for the form finish structures, mainly in the case of specific industry needs, I think Mivan is the better solution. One more point, the weight of the panel is very small, like a 20 kg per square meter, and hence even a single person can handle this type of the formwork, do the de-shuttering without any problem. And that is why these structures or these type of formworks are very, very common in almost all metros, which is basically called as Mivan type of the formwork. Fortunately, there are many companies now in India who are manufacturing the formwork very, very similar to the Mivan, and they are also equally cheaper. I'm showing some component because time given to me by SEC is hardly 45 minutes. If you have any query, you can contact me on my mail or something. I'll share more details with you. See the typical beam component, see the typical prop components which are deliberately posted on this particular scene. See the prop having the different type of the projection and basically latches so that the plates can be fitted, the members can be fitted. You can do the de-shuttering partially as required for the remaining part of the construction. This is the beauty of what is called the Mivan type of the shutters. As I said, this is the good safety measures. Aluminum formwork and hence the wastage is practically zero. Frequency of the props are practically less, and hence you can have more space to wander and move here and there. One more new things, mainly used for the repeated type of the construction, stereo type of the construction, say basically mass housing projects and all, which is called as the tunnel form. Let me share you my experience, my dear colleagues. In the case of conventional construction, if you want to complete the columns, it takes up to the plinth level. If for a normal building, you need minimum 8 or 10 days. There is again repetitive use of the different type of the manpower, rather the people like maybe masons, maybe your catering people. They may come, they may not come. Of course, the cycle time is more. And as I said again and again, the time is the essence of the contract. You cannot wait for a long time. Similarly, when you complete the construction, it is very much common that you will get a call from the owner at any moment of time after 4 or 3 months that you're telling him, asking you, sir, please come to my site. There's a lot of separation, lot of crack between beams and wall, column and the wall. And it is very common mindset of a owner that when there is some type of the separation, what he calls as a crack, he feels as if the heaven is going to fall on his head. And to avoid this type of the problem, what is due to shrinkages, the new technique has come, which is called as the tunnel form. Whatever rooms you are sitting, there are 4 walls. If I consider instead of the bricks and all these combinations, if I complete the wall construction of the 3 walls and the roof that is called a slab simultaneously, keeping one wall open to remove the shutter, there is no question of any separation. There is no question of shrinkages. All the members will be monolith, and wonderfully, it will act like a portal. From that point of view, this concept was developed in the last 10 years which is called as the tunnel form. You'll find these tunnel forms are room-like structures, steel fabricated, and then when the casting is complete, you take the help of what is called as steam curing, hot air blows, which are going for the accelerated curing, and basically you can complete the cycle of one story in the span of nearly 6 or 7 days, which is now the recent development in the form of housing or basically for the what is called as your mass housing construction or what is called as stereo construction. These are the typical forms I would like to share with you. The left hand side indicates half tunnel, right hand indicate what is called as full tunnel form, made up of the steel, made up of the studs, made up of the jacks and everything. I'll put the sequence before you. Initially, the previous, if it is a higher story, the previous concrete need to be checked by any of the majors doing the NDT and all. As I said, all the walls are made up of the concrete only. The vertical reinforcement is placed in the position. Then the tunnel, half tunnel is placed sequentially. In the case of when, as it is a mass construction, stereo construction, positions of the doors and windows are already fixed. So we are fixing the door positions and window positions where we have to keep the opening. Similarly, another half tunnel will be placed on the other side, and the vertical reinforcement is placed. The horizontal reinforcement is placed for the slab according to the guides or according to the say instructions given by the architects or electrical consultant. We are also placing the conduit for electrical fitting. Then we may pour the concrete sequentially, and when the concrete is completed, concrete pouring is completed, it is going to close as basically from the curtains and all the sides, and heaters are installed. The concept of the steam curing is required, and hence the early accelerated steam getting takes place, wherein the cycle time can come to 1 week. This is the beauty of this type of the construction technique, which is called as the tunnel forms. Dear friends, one more concept, which is the very recent development in the case of formwork. They are called as plastic or fiberglass formwork. I'll again repeat, the formwork has the three important issues to deal with. One is basically speed, second is the durability, and third, what is called as the working is easy in working, or what is called as the labor friendly and all. These materials are the new developments in the field of the construction. The plastics which are reinforced, which are having the reinforcement either in the form of polymers or in the glass fibers. These formworks are very thin in nature. They are not at all thick. They are having these following properties as compared to the conventional the formwork that we have talked about in the form of timber or in the form of steel or even in the case of aluminium. And from this particular point of view, they have the major advantages of the cost effectiveness. They are labor friendly. They are very light in nature. It's having a lot of versatility, eco-friendly, durability, and most important time, the stripping time is very low. Of course, in India, this concept has started. I have seen some of the structures made up of it, but as on today, it is basically used for the precasting. Yes, maybe a couple of years down the line, the conventional, say, your formwork will be replaced by these type of the formworks. My dear friends, during this particular discussion, let's come to the problems what are there in the case of formwork. Let me tell you, whatever accidents which happen at the site during the construction, or at least the beginning of the construction or beginning of the casting, you find that 95% of the accident do take place due to the failure of the formwork. And out of that 95%, more 95% of that accident do take place due to the improper propping of the formwork. So collapse of the formwork is purely due to incorrect propping system, maybe due to improper quality, improper application, and hence better to go for selective props which are not at all that costly, But yes, one prop it fails, it is going to create the problem for the whole structure. Let me share some of the pictures before. I'm sorry, a slide was missed. This is the typical plastic formwork. Some of the pictures I could collect, but as I said, it is still, of course, it is used. I don't say no, but at the common places, it is still in the infant condition. I'm sure maybe 2, 3 years down the line, this will occupy the major places. Let's say the essential text, steel props. Nowadays, they are commonly adopted. Don't go for corroded, bent, damage. Let me again tell you, my dear friends, a small thing. Whatever prop if you have, it must have the base below it. The prop without any base, which is called a shoe plate, kindly don't accept that particular prop at the site. If because in the case of construction, when the concreting is going on, at just at the end of the work or at the later part of the, you'll find there is something what is called as the concept of the punching shear, and it is purely due to the poor quality of the concrete at the bottom, which is called as the bed concrete. Or if the soil is compacted, it may not be compacted to that level. And in that case, at the final point, you'll find the one prop is suddenly going into the particular soil or bed concrete. The whole level of that particular slab gets disturbed. Let me again tell you out of my experience, you may apply any type of the jacks, you'll never bring that particular layer slab to the level of your expectation. The only solution, as I told in the beginning, वो हमारे पास वो प्लास्टर वाला है ना, वो लेवल करके दे देगा. That is not the way. Second point about the plumb, my dear friends. In old days, structure was rectangle. It was hardly pure G+1. Normally, in the conventional market, people do attend, but if they are not that keen about the perfect plumb, because for the G or G+1, the plumb going out of by a couple of mm or 1 centimeter was not creating that much big problem. Yes, we could have managed with the plastic and all. But if you take the help or if you take the condition of the Burj Khalifa, where the height is almost equal to 830 meters or so, 1 mm or 1 centimeter out of the plumb, the building top of the building may fall in some adjoining plot, and that will be really a serious problem. And in the second is about the verticality, third is the bracing, the fourth is the runners. I hope you know everything. The firm bearing, these are the small things which will prevent more than 90% of the accidents, my dear friend. But unfortunately, what happens, we take very high care about the reinforcement, spacing, then maybe the beds, maybe the covers, but the part which is called as the formwork is left to the junior supervisors. And if he accepts the formwork, okay, we go blindly and unfortunately fall into the great problem where the solution is there is practically no solution. It may lead to the what is called a loss of the life or great loss of the property. And hence, the safe construction of the formwork kindly keep two things in mind. One, it must be twofold. One, safe working condition for the workman is the first issue. And second, adequate design and construction to ensure safety of the structure for all the type of the loads which are coming on it during the construction stage. Let me again tell you, my dear friends, in most of the structures, load coming on the formwork or load coming on that particular concrete member during the construction is maximum as compared to the lifespan. And hence, the major take care has to be taken from formwork. Formwork is supposed to take the load of everything. We must have either good working conditions, safety, and second, the adequate state. Just to summarize, these are the checklists we must keep in mind for the safe formwork design. One, type and the strength of the material. Most important, we ensure 10 times before you design, before you accept, the material is matching to your design material. Construction loads, sequence and the schedule of the core. Many times people fail at this particular point. You go for the even loading. Go for the perfect schedule so that every member is subjected to at least almost equal load. There is no fun in pouring the concrete at one point, which will create the compilation or buckling of one member, what is called a prop, and another prop is subjected to the vertical or what we call tensile loading, which is very common problem in the case of concreting of what is called as your staircase roof slab, where the concreting volume is very less. The person goes on pouring the concrete dry condition, and tomorrow he says to the owner, "Sir, we'll just trade it," and basically put the concrete in condition. During the whole night, the concrete dry concrete load is there in the some part of the formwork, and another part is subjected to the uprooting or tension. Many times I have seen the failures of the formwork due to that particular reason. Pockets, mainly in the case of industrial structures, where you want to put some another type of the gadgets, mainly the construction joint for the roofs. I'll come to that part of the later stage. One more important point is the SPC of the strata below the props. May not be that serious in the case of domestic structures or residential building, but yes, when you are going for the bridges, when you are going for the culverts and all. In fact, I do have experience in my field that construction was complete, about the pre-stressing was about to start. The water was released from the ATVR on the upstream side, and the whole prop sunk down, and it created a lot of problem for the pre-stressing. In fact, we were compelled to abandon that particular span of the bridge, and hence SBC also plays an important role. This is the small checklist for the beam and slab forms to carry the heavy load. One, the jeep joints laterally braced must be prevented for overturning, mainly for the jeep beams. Sloping slab, because normally in the case of construction, there is fashion now for the sloping slab where we are working against the gravity. Added resisting lateral forces must be kept. High impact drops of the concrete, which is now, which of course nowadays due to pouring, it is reduced. But in some of the small places where we go for the concrete, having the cars and they suddenly unload concrete from the top, which will create what is called impact on that particular formwork, and it will create a lot of problem, hipping, and basically de-shuttering has to be planned. Let me again tell you, my dear friends, while doing the shuttering design, start the plan for the de-shuttering first. Mainly in the case of bridges, mainly in the case of these type of structures where the heavy load is coming. In the case of conventional residential building, the one prop is carrying not more than 100 kg or so. A simple blow given by the hammer is enough to, when I put the weight at the bottom, I can really remove that particular prop very, very comfortably. But when there is something called a trussel, I have shown you in the first picture when the construction of that particular flyover was going on, the rectangular fabricated member which is used instead of prop in such type of the structure, they are called a trussels. The load coming on the trussel will be in the tons. No person in the world can really move it, really de-shutter it, and by using the blow and all, you have to provide some margin between the soffit of that particular slab and the last point of the supporting member, either in the form of hydraulic jack or the simple and very cheap method, which we are using, and I still believe it is one of the best methods for de-shuttering, is nothing but the sand jacks. Go for the very fine sand, over-driven, providing the what is called as the self-fitting type of the system with a simple nut. Whenever the concreting is complete, with the concrete gain the strength, remove that particular one nut, the whole fine sand will rush out, you'll get a gap, and you can go for the de-shuttering. And hence, otherwise, you have to go for the cutting, welding and all, which is very difficult. It is not professional, and that is not a way of doing the de-shuttering at all. Let me small pictures. This is the way how the formwork should be. You'll find a typical portion having some cantilever brackets, having the lacing, having the cross bracing the both that this is a slightly costly issue, my dear friends. But as compared to the cost of the life of the worker, the blot and loss of the time, this must be the way in which we should go for what is called as the bracing and something. There is a redundant member. If one fails, it will give you some signal. It will give some alert so that you can move yourself away from the structure, and otherwise you can take appropriate measures to control it. If you don't do this, the structure will give you signal, but you will not have enough time to run away, and some unfortunate thing may take place. This is another picture which is really a problem for everybody, mainly for the people coming from the B2 or B3. This is something just slightly a better picture, my dear friends. But unfortunately, what happens, this prop, what I shown you, which is moving in all the three directions, no structural analysis can tell me how the loads and moments are transferred here. But in many cases, still this is better picture I say, because the prop ends here only. They provide one wooden flap along with the two nails. If I go to the site and ask what is happening, he says, sir, you are new. For the last 25 years, I'm in business. Another point, one more worse point. Not even that flap, even that plate which is connected to the wooden prop is also not complete. They provide the bricks at the bottom. You know the quality of bricks. When the load is there due to presence of calcium carbonate in the bricks, the brick will crack suddenly and the whole prop will come down along with the some part of the slab. Despite of this particular thing, that this is going to lead to the problem, I'm really, it is a difficult part to understand why the people are not understanding the concept and importance of the propping. They just neglect and they say whatever we are doing is correct. The accident will come without indicating you any signal. We always say from that point of view. Similarly, this is another example I have seen at many places. I always ask them, if this is the prop, there must be some shoe placed at the center. The prop must be placed exactly at the center of the shoe. They will accept my suggestion, but the shoe plate or the plate at the bottom will be something at this one corner. What happens when the load is there, the prop will go down, and if the problem would not have been there, but due to this position, to the eccentric location, the whole plate will come up and the accident will definitely happen at the site. So the engineer must tell the supervisor the importance of the formwork. He must tell you, he must follow your say orders and see that it is properly placed. If you have the gap, place the wooden member. If you have the gap, kindly put the stone, but don't believe in the brick, because brick will put you in problem at any moment of time. Similarly, see here, the prop is placed at the end, but which is supported on only one nail or couple of nails. Do you think the life of an engineer, life of a contractor is so cheap that it is connected only by the two nails? Don't go for these type of the chances, because it will put you in a great problem. Another example I can share, it is from the Delhi. I cannot tell you the name of the company. Everybody knows it. A small negligence. I'm sure you must know the company and that incident which took place at Delhi on the metro. A small mistake, you can find out what is the volume of the loss. This is the best example. I really believe in the God. The props are not there in areas like Karad and all. We have the money, the many people ask for the double level, what is called a hall. The height of the hall slash soffit level is almost equal to 20 feet. At the level of 10 feet, they go for overlooking balcony, just to see who has come and whether to tell them whether the owner is there or not. What happens? We don't have even the 10 feet level, say, props. How to consider the 20 feet level? They just put the one more set on the plank, another bracing, one more, the prop is placed exactly on that particular, say, what is called as your planks, and they go for the shuttering. It is something like a fort constructed out of the cars. It is moving in all directions. There is no proper bracing connectivity. If one prop fails at the top, if one displacement take at a node, I'm very sure within no time the collapse may elate your confidence. You may find these words slightly bitter, but yes, this is the fact. This is another thing that I want to share with you, my dear friends. The work of the house is almost complete. The owner wants to complete the house by putting the last slab, which is a slab over the staircases. The person for doing the job of centering, shuttering, and bar bending, they will tell the owner why to bring the mixer for these 6 or 8 bags concrete. We'll do the concrete manually. Just allow us to take the dry concrete at the top previous night, and tomorrow when we'll come, we'll just mix the cement and complete the concrete. What happens, my dear friends? This particular member goes in the compression. While this particular member is subjected to uplift. Owner is every time very in a hurry to complete a slab. If he doesn't check that particular, say, the position of that particular member or connectivity, the horizontal slab become inclined. It is purely due to the without understanding the behavior of the members. Don't go for the loading at a concentrated point. This is the perfect example where I'm putting my what is called as your this one pointer. You'll find there is something what we call a punching here. This is very common. One punching, one lead to the problem. These are the major causes of the failure. You can really note down. But major problem, I always say this is the thing, either due to overconfidence, negligence, or the human errors. Of course, the load concentration should be avoided, premature stripping is to be avoided. But yes, even over and above, I give the third point most important because most of the accidents are observed due to this particular thing. This is one more duty for you, my dear friend. I asked my supervisor that the prop which is supported must be placed in the very rigid form, in the very safe position. In no case it should move. He has placed that particular prop in the right hand side without understanding how the structure will behave. The same channel, the same prop, same loading. In second case, the right hand side picture will find the structure will definitely come down due to the less strength, less moment of inertia provided by the channel just by keeping not along the depth but definitely along the what is called as the web. These type of things are also small thing but definitely leads to the great problem. One more point, mainly the people dealing with the pre-stressed concrete. People must understand this concept that you must keep in mind, my dear friends. The left-hand side picture is the propping in the very perfect way. The loading, the props are there, they're perfectly braced in X and Y direction. The loading is perfectly divided among the, what is the seven, say, your props. But whenever the staging is complete, the show is exactly reversed. As you are aware, due to the staging, we are providing the strong tensile strength from the tendons, which ultimately leads to the compression on the concrete. What happens is, due to the compression, you have the concave type of the effect, and all the props will lose the contact with the concrete, and only the last one, left hand last and right hand last, will be subjected to the huge load, heavy load of all the members. While designing, if we don't take proper care, if we don't take proper thought of how the concrete will behave, instead of flat, it will be in a curvature. Remaining props will not support the loading. Only the last two will carry the heavy loads. If we don't provide the sufficient cross section, it is bound to fail. Technically, whatever position, whatever mechanism you adopted in the before the concreting or before the stressing was correct, but due to the structural behavior, there is definitely the load transmission mechanism change. If we don't understand, it is going to create a problem. Last slide, which is the most important slide from me. Friends, it is always the evening. Many of you must be contractors. Many of you must be the consulting engineers. It is always 7:30. There's the last bag load, which is there in the case of mixer. We are also tired, the supervisor also tired. या साहब क्या करने का, अभी 6:30 बन गया, अभी एक बैग का लोड मिक्सर में पड़ा है. My normal answer as a contractor would be डाल दें कल देखेंगे, and this is the effect of कल देखेंगे. You'll find the concrete which is poured without any stopper will have zero cells. This is something like your cancer. This is something like your gateway of India, where you are providing the pores, where the external agencies will come in, they will start fitting in, and that will lead to the cancer, what is called as the corrosion. My dear friends, corrosion once started cannot be stopped. Whatever commitment, whatever people say, we can definitely reduce the rate of propagation of this particular thing, but we cannot make it zero. And hence, the only thing is the concrete must be dense. The formwork should be complete. There must be also stopper, and then and only then go for the compaction, and then and only then you can go for the proper, durable, sustainable concrete. And hence, they said, quality is affected due to complete formwork. Friends, whatever we have discussed in now was about the stationary type of the formwork. That means formwork which is placed at one location till the concrete attain the age, concrete attain that particular step. Because the concrete and human being is same. Behavior of the concrete and behavior of the human being is same. For the infant also, for the infant, for the small baby, it is always safe in the hug of mummy or papa. Similarly, in the case of concrete, it is very safe in the form of temporary support, which is called as the formwork, till it attains the strength until it gets separated from the parents. As you'll find after 14, 13 days, you'll find a clear gap between the formwork and the concrete, indicating the concrete is self-sustainable or it has achieved the loading. This is okay, what is called as the stationary formwork. 15, 20 years back, one concept has come which is called jump form technique, where the formwork is being at after some time from the point x comma y to point x1 comma y1 suddenly. Of course, that type of technique was used, but right from 88, we have some another slip form technology. In fact, it was used, it is noted, I got the data from 1987. It was used by Hindustan Construction Company first time effectively for the Bombay, that is called a Tata Power, where 275-meter chimney they could complete in the span of 9 meters. It is the record from 1987-88, where 275-meter chimney was completed in 9 meters. Nowadays, the field is changed. That same chimney can be completed in the span of 6 months only. The slip form is technique used for the towers, chimneys, the cooling towers, what I showed, the elevators, reservoirs, bridges, and all, where the form is moving. When the concrete is poured, the rate of movement of form is such that the previously poured concrete is hardened and it is basically taking the load of the newly poured concrete. Right, for the last 10 or 15 years, it is also effectively used for the road construction. If you move any of the good roads, national highways, expressway, or one state highway, you'll find the typical pavers which are now commonly adopted to complete the concreting, which is called as horizontal slip forming. So initially it was started with the vertical slip form. Nowadays, it is basically also used effectively for horizontal slip form. The slip form relies on two things: on the free setting property of the concrete, requiring a balance between the early strength and what is called as the workability. This is the paver you must have seen n number of times on the road. This is now have the 100% when in the old case, even for the construction of the factories and all, you have the big labor force required for the spreading, required for basically fitting the dowels, tie bars and all. Nowadays, once you set the alignment using the string lines, using your total station, or even using what is called as GPS, the slip form moves on its own. It is something like a slave. It will basically follow the instructions given by you, and hence the most 18% automation. Let's go for the components. One is the auger, where the concrete is brought to the side by the transmitter. It is kept in the jolting condition. Another member is called as takeoff. As it is sensor paper, extra concrete will be taken out. There will be battery of the vibrators, because I say the 5% voids the concrete will lose the strain by almost equal to 30%, and 10% voids in the concrete will lose the strain 50%. Hence, proper vibration is most important. In the case of roads where the width is very high, there is the battery of the vibrators. Tamper plate where some aggregate piece which is coming at the top due to the abrasive, the stone piece will be taken off to avoid. They go for the tamper. They will maintain the different slope as the guideline. It will have a track. Issue the cross section. First point, what called auger, the strike of a sensor paver, battery of the vibrator, the whole system moves in the paving direction, and hence it is called as slip-form paver. This is the simple methodology which is good for you. For the string line, which is the alignment, just put the paver exactly at the center. This is your job. Rest of the things are taken automatically. Then the placer spreader will concrete to the jolting condition, vibrators, dowel bar. I hope you are knowing this particular thing. When you are moving along the direction, you have to put the dowel bars to transfer movement and forces for other. Definitely, concrete needs finishing because it is very rough. If we move the vehicles on that into the abrasion, what will happen? The tires will really lose its life, and it will be very difficult to drive or fly on these roads. We need the finishing, something like the tiles, what we are doing. At the same time, if we make it very smooth, it will be have the skidding effect. So we have to maintain some textures. Then we go for the curing. Then we have to go for joint cutting to avoid the warping. And then we feel with some wonderful type of the. I'll show the pictures. This is the string line. These are called the confirmation marks, because even after so much care, we may miss the alignment here and there. This is basically maintain the center of the paver with the center of the road. These are the cross indicating string line. It is elevation sensor. This is the alignment sensor, so that the paver will be in the perfect direction. This is the pressure. This is the spreader, so that the concrete will keep in the fresh condition. This is the value of vibrators, 13, 14, 15, depending upon the depth of the paver. We also find the pavers or basically vibrators spacing is adjusted. This is the dowel bar inserters, tie bar inserters, initial finishing, textural finishing, curing compound, which where because we cannot go for the forming other effects. Only unfortunate parties we go for wonderful construction, but people bring their on the same surface after a couple of hours. The basic purpose of the curing compound is lost because of the rupture, and that is unfortunate situation otherwise. And see the groove cutting just to allow not to go for the warping, you should feel with the wonderful quality of the style. Last part, the initial part, which is called vertical stirrups, vertical slip-ons. Basically, as I said, it is for the vertical type of the uniform type of the sections or perfectly geometric sections. You need silos, pylons, cooling towers, and all. Normally, the way what you observed in this particular type of the system, it is a vertically moving with a 0.2 to 0.3 meters per hour. It is 24/7 job. We cannot stop in between. If at all we have to stop, they should have the stoppages which are planned. If we go for this, people say that is 30 to 35% basically period saving using this particular type of the technique. Just for last 5 minutes, this is the comparison. On the left-hand side, you'll find the horizontal slip form, which is the recent technology used for the construction of the rigid requirements, and right-hand side, what is called as the old conventional vertical slip-form technology. Just to tell you a simple mechanism, it is always made up of three platforms. The upper platform is called as the worker platform, where pouring of the concrete will take place from that particular point, either from the placer boom or the bucket, as the case may be. This is called as engineer's platform, which is normally used cleaner controlling operation, and all the typical inflation controls, then height, thicknesses, all these particular dimension changes, and this is particular called as hanging platform or third type of the platform, bottom platform, which is all for renting operation, fitting what is called as your electrical gadgets, mainly in the case of chimneys, mainly in the case of cooling towers. Lot of chemical gadgets for the chemical and mechanical effects are required. They are basically done at this particular level. These are the tiers that I show you over here. Top deck, intermediate deck, which is jack operation, inspection of the water level, yoke, compaction, and the lower deck, basically for the rendering operation. These are the three stages, three tiers in the case of vertical platform. I've given you deliberately the animated part of a sloping chimney, which is completed or constructed using the slip form. This is the upper one, which is the deck supporting mechanism. Second is the vertical deck. Third is the hanging scaffolding, or what we call as the bottom tier. Fourth point, where you want to check the radius of the member correction, because this is operated by many times the hydraulic jacks. There are 40, 45, 48 jacks depending upon the volume of the concrete, load and all. Even we take the proper care, it is not possible for anybody to see that it is perfectly level, because one of the jack may not perform correctly. And hence at every level, there is some check which is taken to be taken by the fleet of the people of the engineers who are there to adjust that particular, say, radius by this member 4, the member 5 for adjusting the wall thicknesses. In the case of chimney, as we go to the top, the load definitely comes down, and the thickness of the concrete can be reduced, and hence it can be done by the number 5 point. Number 6 is to take the inclination. As the inclination is to be equal from all the sides, but due to one of the reason, mechanical defect, as we are working at 100, 150 meters, it is not possible always to maintain everything very, very precisely. And hence at some 5 meters, 3 meters level, there are some points where we can confirm whether things are going on, or we can make the correction. Point number 7 is the horizontal turn bucket, where we apply pressure thrust on this particular yellow member, which is nothing but what is called a lifting yokes. If we don't apply the pressure, concrete will flow down from all the sides, and hence there is something called as the turnbuckles, the spider beam, which is the beam which is for lifting, and then the small jacks which are placed over here. These jacks, they are placed at every location uniformly to make the lifting. And last is basically the reinforcement, which is continuously placed from depending right from the bottom to the top. This is the simple assembly of what is called as vertical slip-forms. And it looks very simple in the case of diagram. It is very difficult to operate at the site. This is the sequence how we move. This is the basic alignment which is required to be given by the engineers like you and me only. Even though it is now mechanized, even though everything is, because I recall when I was dealing with the projects in the tunnels, we used to give the alignment using the disco mat or the 1 second theodolite after midnight. That using a small needle and basically a candle at the box to avoid what is called as the parallax. Nowadays, that concept has gone. People are using now laser guide beams to check the verticality. Even it is true, the basic supporting mechanism before a basic accuracy is to be done by us only, and hence engineer's brain cannot be replaced by the lasers and IT tools. Then this is the second stage, third stage, and fourth stage you'll find It is purely due to continuous core, which is called as slip-form technology. The stoppages may be there, but unforeseen stoppages are not permitted due to the reasons which are displayed before you. If this is there, it is a failure. Whatever portion which is casted has to be removed. All the sequence gets really ruined, and then we suffer a great loss. And hence, whatever stoppages you want to plan, just go for the stoppages before you really start the activity of what is called as your slip form, vertical slip form. If we don't do it properly, as it looks simple on the while discussion, it's very, very difficult. Most important thing, there must be safety provisions. We are working 24/7. There's nothing like a day and night time. There must be perfect communication, all the safety gadgets, perfect material, lifting technology, voice communication, they are required. Otherwise, the basic purpose of this particular safety will be really in great trouble. These are the advantages and no across the time. In fact, whatever which is out of my experience on this, I've taken the help of Coconut Railway, Larsen & Toubro Tube, Hindustan Construction, Ambuja Cement Accounts for providing me some photographs from the site and from materials. Whatever doubts you have, you can really raise, because I'm very, very thankful to AC Cement providing the opportunity. Of course, this is a very big topic, and I cannot really cover this in 45 to 50 minutes. But whatever I know, I shared with you. If you have any query, I request you to kindly tell me, I share with me, I can definitely try to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please, any questions?
Thanks, Dr. Kumthekar. I will request everybody to be on mute only, because there are 100 people out there, and there are limitations related to some technical glitches are also happening. I'll just request everybody to write here in the chat box the questions. If it is any question is coming in mind, we will read out for you and for the complete forum, and Dr. Madhav Kumthekar will answer it. Sir, there are 1-2 questions which I can see on the screen. This is question is from somebody who's using a red way to everyone. It is, sir, please elaborate on the de-shuttering time of formwork. So it is basically basic question related.
Yeah, technically de-shuttering as per the 456 is specified as 7 days, 14 days, depending upon the span. And mainly for the columns, it was 24 to 48 hours. But nowadays, due to changing technology, change in the cement technology, concrete technology, as using the wonderful products of ACC and all, you can very well get the strain something like a 50-55 megapascal very comfortably. Due to this particular change in this particular cement technology, or basically using the different type of admixtures which are available. In the case of tunnel form, as I said, the time of the system has come to 7 days. So IS specifies a different span, but using this type of technology and the concept of accelerated curing due to the steam curing concept and all, in the professional markets today, the cycle time of the tunnel form has come to really 1 week.
There is another question which is seeking about the supporting system like vertical and ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want you to talk about the supporting systems like vertical and ledger.
Just to discuss with you, the formwork is generally a picture, generally a combination of 2 things. One, the vertical support, which are normally called as a props, which is also commonly it is called as centering. Normally, the centering is supposed to be placed in such a system that it must have enough strain to carry the load and also resist the buckling effect due to the long column concept. The shuttering, I'm not really getting the question, but shuttering is basically members which are subjected to the different bending moments which are coming out of the loads. In the case of this for the buildings and all, we go for the props which I had discussed, starting from the timber which are not used, but now for the aluminium or the right basically for the steel. In the case of the infrastructural type of the thing like bridges and all, the props are possible. We always try to construct this structure using the either what is called a trusses supported by the pairs or supported by the rows of the trusses. This is simple supporting mechanism system adopted. Over and above, we place the rafters and then the plates as the case may be depending upon the finish that is expected by the owners or by the architect as the case may be. This is normally the supporting system for the basically the props what are called as the centering and what is called as shuttering, the members which are going to support the bottom members like a slab or even beams or beam style, they come under the same category.
There is one question from engineer Asif Jamadar. He wants to know if there any thumb rule to calculate the density of supporting member prop on site itself. Is there any thumb rule to calculate density?
No, I don't know, sir. No, I don't know any thumb rule about it.
Okay. There is one more question. I think which shuttering from Mr. Vishal Pandit. Which shuttering system is more preferable, Mivan or tunnel? Which is more preferable, tunnel or Mivan?
No. The Mivan is basically a system adopted for any type of the residential system. Tunnel formwork has many limitations. Tunnel formwork is commonly adopted only in the case of typical type of the box type of the structures, which are called as the mass housing, typical type of the slum removal type of the structures, or what is called as type of the construction, where there is no change in any type of building from the type of the opening, type of the thing or something, plumbing and all.
Okay.
We cannot accept any type of the flexibility in the case of your tunnel formwork because it will not serve the purpose. For the building which are very small or conventional one, you can better go for the Mivan or type of the Mivan because there are so many industries like Aluform and all which are in India which are producing Mivan type of the formwork. For the regular conventional building where a lot of changes, modifications are expected because this is a typical thing in the case of building industry, the architect or engineer, whatever they plan, due to the changes which are adopted by the owner or his family, many times we are supposed to change the thing which is not there as per the plan. And hence for such type of the thing, I think Mivan is most reasonable type of the formwork.
Okay, so sir, there are more questions coming up. We will.
Sir, what I suggest, can you mail them?
Yeah, we'll mail them. But I think we can take 1-2 questions.
No problem. I am free because we also need time.
Because the things which go on in a continuity, it is better.
Yeah, let it be. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions.
So in a Mivan system, Mr. Weber, I would like to know that in Mivan system we have found failure in wall tie. He has experienced that there is a failure in wall tie. Is there any specific reasons for that?
See, basically Mivan is technically foolproof system. I use Mivan, but the thing is, I don't know why that failure has taken place. Technically, it is, but many of the cases I have seen this particular complaint about the Mivan that type of failure has taken place. To be honest, it is purely due to workmanship that we got of the issue. But otherwise, from my point of view, whatever experience I have about the Mivan, the failure is not that type common. I don't know what is the reason. If he can give me some details about it, I can definitely try to answer the questions.
Okay. So I'll request
No, the thing is, kindly ask him to mail me that his details. Yeah. I'll definitely answer him with no time.
Yeah. So, Mr. Weber, you can mail.
Yeah, mail, because that will be interesting part for me also. I can also think and study some more about it.
Okay, sir. And there is a off-topic question, but I
Yeah,
think
please.
this is in mind of everybody.
Yeah.
That Mr. Tawade, he want to know that most of that what will the future of civil industry post COVID-19? I mean, post this Corona crisis, what will be the future? What is your opinion about it? Is there a chance of crisis for the civil engineering jobs or what?
Uh, to be honest, that the COVID-19 is a not only epidemic, it is a pandemic for everybody. The industry, as you are aware, the civil industry is always the suffering industry, because all the other industries stop investing in the civil structures. This is the first industry which is really closed, and it is the industry which is last open, because people, when the industrialists or the other say members, when they find the future is safe, then only then they go for the construction. Of course, there will be a small impact on the construction industry, because we are not sure at what time this lockdown will be over, and when that particular all the manufacturing sectors and other sectors will really work. It will be, there will be some impact for the short span. But my answer to this question the other way, this is the opportunity for civil engineers to overcome this issue, overcome the conventional way. Because I'll again repeat, people are more interested in only four things: one, cost; second, speed; third is the quality; and what is called a durability. If we, in this particular span of the time, we do the introspection all by the old civil engineering fraternity, it is the time after 6 months, 8 months down the line, when the industry or when the system will be in order, I am very, very sure the civil industry will pick up very fast, and whatever losses which was a temporary loss, we can really recoup, we can really come over in the remaining period. So initially there will be slight fear into my mind also, but it is only for the short duration. After that, it will pick up, and whatever losses we have suffered, I'm very sure we can manage.
Yeah. Actually.